Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to get stuck into the wiring and maybe some welding. Stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you haven't yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the post notification bell to stay up to date with this build. That being said, let's get into it. Alright guys, last episode we laid out the stripped down engine harness and we traced back some wires. Also, yesterday I went through some wiring diagrams and I figured out which wires did what. So with the coolant one, that's not the coolant one, where did you go? Here. The stock one has 3 pins, the Heltec one has 2. Now this one has a coolant that goes to the ECU, and the other one has a temperature that goes to the combination dash. So one's for the gauge, one's for the ECU. So we'll do some testing. I've got all the stuff in the wiring diagram, which one just does which. But we'll strip that down, and I've got to test out if they put out the same voltage. If they do, I can just connect them together, and we should have the same reading through to the ECU and to the dash. So we should still have the gauge work on the dash, hopefully. Boys, another thing that I need to get sorted is I am piggybacking into the OEM wiring harness, but can I do that inside the cabin, or do I need to run some of the wiring out to the connectors, and then from like these connectors onto here should be fine? Because this one here is like all shielded and stuff, so I don't know if I can connect shielded to shielded, or I have to run it all the way from the Heltec to this plug here, because the shielding will go back into the Heltec on this side, unless there's another connection in between that one and the ECU, which I can't remember. I'll have to look it up in the diagrams. And we've got some ones that we need to tap into on these plugs here too. So as I mentioned last episode, I need to run an intake air temperature sensor. So I'll be coming in through these connectors. I'll be putting it onto one of these little piggy tails here. So I'll be using the factory wiring from the other side. So we're no longer using those wires for the TGV motors. So I'll be able to use the wiring from here back to the ECU. So what I'm going to do is cut the wire on the Heltec harness for the intake air temp, and I'll use that on this side of the plug, so we know what it is. It's the same color, so it matches on the ECU side, if that makes sense. And yeah, that makes sense to me. I think that's probably the smartest thing to do. Alright, let's start looking at the wiring. So at the moment, I don't believe I need to run any new wiring to these plugs here. We should have everything to the stock ECU from there. But yeah, I'm still not sure on the shielded ones. We just need to add in on the actual harness here. So we should be alright. Also, with the injectors, they are actually different plugs, so I might chop them and put the other connectors on, so straight on. And I'll probably do the same thing with the coils too, but that'll be once the GTR R35 ones come in, because they'll have adapters. So because then we'll have a stupid amount of extra wiring hanging down, which is probably not the best. So I'd have to de-pin them or just cut them off. I know this one over here is broken, so that's alright. So that's sitting out that way, that one out that way. That one's good, that one's good. Cool. I'm pretty sure I don't need the idle air control. Let me know if I do. I don't think I do, because there's no mention of that in the Haltech. So just the TPS, map, O2. I think that's it. And coolant. It's really all it needs. And obviously the injectors and the coils. Because I reckon that's a bit of an eyesore up there. I guess I could delete the coolant then, can't I? If I can get rid of the idle air, because that goes off coolant. That's this one, which is this one. Let me know. Alright, so I'm on the laptop now. I'm in ECU Flash, just checking the calibration for the coolant temp sensor on the stock one, stock ECU, and to the Haltech, yeah, it's pretty much the same. Like, the negatives isn't, but we don't get negatives here, or very rarely. It'd be like -1 or 2. But then you get your startup, it should be alright. Yeah, so 120 degrees at the volts of 0.45 is the same, so we are good. So now just got to make sure this, well, I'm still plugged in, the voltage for the coolant, or the temperature sensor, or the temperature gauge, should I say, on the dash is the same. Actually, boys, I don't think I'll even worry about it. I'll just not connect it, and I'll just dead end it and tape it up, or heat shrink it. I might see how I go. If I do end up getting that 2-inch Haltech gauge that'll read coolant temp, I will I'll just pull that wire out, or just leave it. Only you guys will know from this episode that it's still there. Yeah, let's figure out which one I don't need, and I'll just cut it, because it doesn't matter actually where I connect it. Connect it on the other side of the connector instead of on the engine harness. It wouldn't really matter. Right, let's get rid of that wire that I don't need, so I don't stuff up. Alright, boys, so we've got the wiring here. So we have temp gauge, which is the white and green. We've got the grey, which is H, which I've figured out by visually looking at it. Then we've got black and green. So here we go. So we've got grey. Let's the grey one goes to the ECU, so that's one we'll be tapping into. I believe that's the power of the Earth. Whereas that goes to everything else. That goes off. So we need to cut the temp gauge. It's not going to be using that. As long as the Haltech knows I've got the computer hooked up to the Haltech while I'm tuning, we should be good. So we are getting rid of the white and the green. White and the green. So I'll pull this back a bit. Alright, so we can look to the connector. It's number 15 on the connector, which is B21, which is this black one here. 15, second one in from the right on the bottom, second bottom row. This is, I've already just grabbed it. So second row up, this one here. I'm just going to snip that with a bit of a tail. Alright, so that obviously is signal ground and signal. So we can go across to the Haltech sheet. So A is the signal ground and B is the signal. Pretty simple. I don't think I've got the crimping tool, the correct crimping tool to actually put that plug on. So that's a bit annoying. I'll have a look. Well, definitely don't have that crimper. Oh yeah, it's one of the ones you got to push the wire through, put the connector on, and then pull it back in. So I've got to make sure I get that right. Alright boys, moving on. Just looking at the cam and crank sensor lead. So I've got the wiring harness there. So that goes around and back. This comes out. So this, I believe, goes in that one. Comes out, goes around, and pops out here. So that is also on the same harness as the boost controller. So, but I'll be tapping into that at the ECU. I think it's probably best if I wire it to this plug. We'll get another plug because that's broken. I think that's just a Deutsch connect. It's only five being used in a 10 pin. That's odd. Yep, still only 5. Very, very odd. Could have used a 6 pin, unless in different models they have more wiring in there. Anyway, I think those shielded wiring should be good to reach that connector. So we'll run that all the way to that connector. Because just looking at the diagram, got the crank, got the cam. So we've got the shielded on the engine harness. This is the engine harness here. We've got the connector, which is that one there, B20, 10 pin, and only 5 being used, which they are all here, knock sensor, cam and crank. And then it's just shielded. They're actually shielded together and back to the ECU. So yeah, I think it's best just to run that all the way to that connector. I think that would be the best way to do it. We do only have 2 wires coming through, and these are 4 core. Yep, both 4 core with an earthing in there, which doesn't need to be connected to anything, so you just chop that off because it's earthed at the ECU. So yeah, you only earth it on one side, both sides. So this one's earthed back to the ECU. On the other side, it is earthed to the engine. So that's it there. That's earthed to the engine. Anyways, I think it might be time to head into the car and look at the actual ECU and the wiring. And I don't think it's time to start chopping because I don't have any crimps to put the Haltech onto or piggyback onto. So I'm just gonna write on the connectors with the Sharpie of what they say they are, like B20 and stuff like that. Alright boys, my boost controller, I've had this since day dot. So here's my wiring for it. Very poorly done. Had to tap into some things. I just pulled all this out and that's just sitting in there now. But look at that solder. I just took the tape off it. Yeah, no heat shrink. Just took the tape off and wire snapped off it, which was the purple one. Anyway, this is all coming out. I'm going to cut that and yeah, I'm just going to write what they are on top of the connector because we need to be looking into the connector this way. So that's 1. The top left is 1 instead of looking at it this way. And I've got to be able to D-pin. So we don't want stock ECU to have any control over like your ignition or anything like that, because we don't want the Haltech and that fighting against each other. So you could say I'm kind of piggybacking it. Alright boys, we have got them all labelled, which is good. So with the wiring and the diagram, so how it's here, we need to be looking into the connector. So this is B137, 137. As you can see, we've got 2 up the top, 2 up the top, then a gap, 2 up the top, and a gap. So we need to be looking at it this way. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 up the top. So yeah, I need a bloody pin connector removal thingamajiggy. These are freaking small. Need to get rid of some wires. So what I need to do is I'll strip this back a little bit further, so I've got a bit more space to play with. You can see some of the little dags hanging out from the boost controller. I'm sure we'll be removing some of them. Hopefully all of them. I've definitely repaired them. Alright, so stripped it back just up to where this cable tie is that connects into, I think, here to secure it. Yeah. So what I might do is, I was thinking of just tagging them, but that might be a waste of time. So find it, double check, cut it and do one wire at a time. I think that would be best, not wasting time. But also I need to figure out where I'm going to mount this Haltech. What do you reckon, boys? Right there? And just feed the wiring out down there. And then this can just unscrew. And connect the pooter in. So I'll just cut off this ribbing a little bit so that'll set up better. I think that's where the owner's manual goes, like with the cover and stuff. That doesn't affect it. You can still have things in there. You can still connect the computer in quite easily. I think that might be it, boys. Probably where most people are running theirs. I was just thinking, how am I going to get all the wiring down there? Like you idiot, you go the other way. You go up and put the connector in. Alright, is that neat? Is that neat enough? What I might actually do is, yeah, chop off that rib, bring that up and make something that'll go over that so you can't see any of that. And have the wire that comes down. It's the only thing that's at the moment that's going into the engine bay are these two. And yeah, I'll probably go up through that one. I thought the wiring went through here, through the guard. I guess not, unless it splits off and goes across above that point. Alright, just trying to find a good location. Alright, this is the can, which is good. Integrated can. So it runs up along there, down, and then we'll probably just like get into it pretty close, because I'll be de-pinning these. I should be able to get into them pretty quick and not like further up, if you know what I mean. Because really I'll just be cutting the pin off and putting them on that way. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'll pull the two cam and crank sensors out of this loom. So I'll probably run it up and across and out, and I'll run this down. I'm going to put a cable tie here, so then after that point that's when I can start cutting and merging it into the stock harness. Alright, there's a start. So I've got the cam and crank going over that way. We've got all the other ones coming down here. Put the cable tie on. They should sit below the connectors. Then come up and attack and get into the old harness and beep doop beep doop boost. Alright guys, so what I might figure out first are the injectors and the coils. We're getting tangled. Alright guys, got some cable ties here, so I'm just going to do some grouping. So we'll group out the injectors and I'll group out the ignition as well. So it's just 8 wires, but it's going to make it easier when we set them out. So boys, I'm looking at the wiring I've got here. You may have seen that I've actually got the Elite 750 basic harness, so I've got 6 injectors. Can I put them in something else? Or can I not change injectors or ignition to anything else? I just like delete 5 and 6. Anyway, I'll cable tie them off. Ooh, getting a bit of a headache. Not really. I'm gonna call it a night. I'll come back out tomorrow and see how far I can get. But yeah, don't expect much over this weekend. Alright guys, it's the next night. It's actually pretty late, like 9:30, 10 o'clock on Sunday night. So I still need to edit this video. So I'm not actually going to be out here for long. So what I've done is I've ordered some U-connectors so I can crimp the wires together. I ordered some heat shrink, obviously so I can protect them. And I ordered some pin removal tools so I can get the pins out. So hopefully they are here towards the end of the week. I'm actually having next week off. I'm going on a holiday, so may or may not have any videos for then. But at the moment, the wiring in the car is just spaghetti. It's all over the shop. So I'm looking at the Elite 550 basic universal wiring harness there, as you can see, but I have the 750, so we have more wires. So I guess I gotta print off the Elite 550 so I can make sure everything matches up. Obviously, once I've got the computer in here and hooked up, we can assign which wires for what. But yeah, we've got some extra wires. Like I said before, we've got 6 injectors, we've got 6 ignition, and I think we might have more signal grounds too. Seems to be a lot more signal grounds. Yeah. I'll flip this over to premium. See, signal ground, signal ground, signal ground, signal ground. They all come out of 11, so I'm not sure if well, I should just put in here and I'll be able to see on number 11. Actually might pull that down and have a look. So 550 and the 750, they are a 34 pin connector, so I'm not completely sure how I've got more wires for a 4 to 6 cylinder as well. Anyway, we still need to work out the whole powering system, fuse box and everything, if I can still run the stock one or I should really do my own for the battery positive and the fuel pump. So I've got a fuel pump relay in the boot, but I'm also going through the one that's the stock one for just the trigger and ECU relay. So I still need to work out all of that stuff still. So making progress, but slowly. Yeah. So guys, I'm going to finish this episode here. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And I'll catch you next episode. Bye.